I never thought Crosby was a great goal scorer. I mean, he scored some great goals. He's a good point producer and a good one of the greatest overall players, like you said, good 200 feet. But goal scorer, I mean, Ovechkin has a rocket. There's no question about that. Maybe one of the hardest. But I don't know if I would put him ahead of Gretzky. Even Lemieux, too. Lemieux had a great shot and could put the puck where he wanted.
I mean, Ovechkin on their power play, they have done it his entire career. He camps out on the left circle, and they just try to feed him one-timers so he can hit bombs. Everybody knows it's coming. Nobody ever actually stops it for more than like a game, 2 games, like a little stretch of time here. There is not like any other play they run. It's just how can we eventually get the puck over to him on his one-timer, on his strong side for a one-timer, and it keeps working. I think he's the greatest goal scorer ever in hockey history to lace up skates. If you put him in the wild 80s, he might score 3,000 points because he's also big as a freight train. So I think that's how good he is. But I think Crosby's the better player. I think Crosby's a top 5 all-time player.
So if I'm reading between the lines here, if he played the same era as Gretzky, you think he would have more goals and potentially more points than Gretzky?
I think you could, yes, and I think you can say that about Sid too. Sid's a physical specimen compared to Gretzky. He's got every bit the vision Gretzky had. I mean, if Sid's got Dave Semenko or somebody riding shotgun to make sure nobody takes liberties and Sid stays healthy, absolutely. I don't think there's any reason to believe that either one of these guys wouldn't be unbelievably great, wouldn't be thriving or wouldn't have thrived and wouldn't have put up insane point totals in the 80s. A lot of people did. Rob Brown had huge seasons in the 80s. No disrespect to Robbie Brown, but like, come on here. What are we talking about?
All right, let's go out to the phone line, the Borders and Borders hotline. Let's go out to JB in Squirrel Hill. How you doing, JB?
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey, I have 3 points, okay? One, Kenny Pickett, odds are really that he's not going to be the answer. I mean, if you look at just historically, how hard it is to find a guy, the odds are that he's not the guy. Second thing, Ron Hextall, I think, is a moron. He's setting us back by signing all these old guys. They're not going to be – I don't think they're going to be good for a while here. And then my guaranteed cover, TCU plus 7.5 at Texas. All right.
All right, thanks a lot, JB. I'll let Chris handle the game, the guaranteed cover. I want to get into the first 2 things first. So he's talking about Kenny Pickett. I don't think the odds are that he's not going to be a good player. I would disagree with there. As for Ron Hextall, yeah, okay. I know you and I talked about this a few times on the sports call. What are they going to do? They signed, the best second line center that they could out there. They re-signed Chris Letang. I mean, that's the situation they were in. What could you have done? Gotten younger and maybe players that weren't as good as those guys? I mean, my fault with the whole Penguins organization is they should have cut ties with one of these guys, trading them, and to get people back, to get younger back in like 2018. Because this team will end up being what Chicago was and what LA was. Father Time never loses.
I disagree with that. They've already outlasted LA and Chicago by a lot, and you couldn't make one of those deals back in 2018, Richie. They were coming off back-to-back Cup years, so you'd be crazy if you were saying.
But you would have got a haul for Malkin. You would have got a haul for Malkin back after 2018.
But who does? But okay, after you lose to the Capitals and the Capitals go on to win it all, I mean, who doesn't still think that they have a chance at like a real bite at the apple? I mean, the Penguins outplayed the Rangers in last year's first-round series, and if they don't have to go to Louis Domingue, they probably win. On a lot of levels, I don't really blame them for saying, hey, we're still a pretty good hockey team when we're healthy. It's November, dude. It's November 9th or whatever right now. They have time to figure out the things that they are bad at. They have time to make those little subtle moves. And if their role players actually start showing up and earning their keep, then they're going to be a better team. That's the thing. It's been the goaltending and it's been the role players. It hasn't been the old guys that they brought back around. It's been other guys that aren't making $7-8 million, whatever it might be.
So do you honestly think that this team could make a run this year? I mean, this is their last opportunity.
If they get into the playoffs, Richie, if they still make it into the playoffs, I think they have as good a chance as anybody. If they're healthy and they're in the playoffs, it's hockey. It's inherently very, very, very random. So, yes, I think they could make a run provided they get in. That's all they need to – it's not a single elimination tournament, but this is where Mike Tomlin's axiom in football, hey, you just want to get into the single elimination tournament. In hockey, it's a 7-game series. It's a gauntlet. It's crucible. Way more applicable there, though. You sneak in as an 8 seed, you have every chance to actually make some real noise.
All right, let's go out to Kirk and Harmer. How you doing, Kirk?
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I'd like to say it's a great show. You know, when Bob isn't hosting Richie, it doesn't lose a step. You're just as great. You guys are fantastic.
Appreciate
Look, I
that,
want to
Kirk.
apologize to Mitch Trubisky for ragging on him for 4 weeks. It has come to my attention these past 4 weeks that the anemic and sluggish offensive play calling is just disastrous. These players look like as if they're trying to run in 2 feet of cement. It's just crazy what I'm seeing. If you put Rudolph in, I'm telling you, you'll get the same result. That's all I needed to say. Thank you, guys. Great show.
Thanks a lot, Kirk. Appreciate the kind words. It's interesting. You know, people have talked about Rudolph a lot. Chris Hoke does it on 93.7 The Fan. He's on one of our shows. But, you know, there's some talk, maybe not within the organization, but around some of the Pittsburgh media thinking that if you had Mason Rudolph in there, they'd win more games. I don't know if I buy that point of view, but I think you got to go with Pickett now.
Yeah, you got to go with Pickett. Mason Rudolph apparently has told people he thinks he could be having a Geno Smith type of season if the Steelers had just given him the chance. Well, one, the Seattle Seahawks have Shane Waldron, a real, actual offensive coordinator with real, actual NFL chops running their show. Two, what Geno Smith is doing is both spectacular, seemingly sustainable, but when you look through the history of the NFL, pretty unlikely that a guy is like a bounce-around journeyman and then starts playing at this level. Rich Gannon maybe is an example of somebody that kind of did it that way, but what Geno Smith is doing is not something that I would say any old quarterback who's sitting there in third string has a chance to do.
All right, we got to take a break, but back with more of your phone calls, more discussion, maybe some of your tweets, all coming up next. Stay right there.